You're lying on a dirt floor. The air is cold, heavy, still. You try to breathe normally, but your body doesn't feel like it belongs to you anymore. You're 17 years old, and your body has already lived through more pain than most people will ever understand in a lifetime. Your belly is swollen again. This is your 4th pregnancy in 6 years. But what hurts more than the physical weight is what you already know deep down. You will not raise this child. You never have, because none of your children stay with you for long. The first one was a boy. He was taken when he was just 3 years old. You still remember the morning clearly, the way he held on to your dress, the way his voice broke when they pulled him away. You told yourself you would see him again, but you never did. The second child, a baby girl, was taken even younger. You were not allowed to ask where she went. No answers, no records, no trace, just silence. The third child never made it. You still remember the exhaustion, the fear, the helplessness, and the way nobody called it what it was. They called it normal. Now there is another pregnancy, and you already understand the truth. This one will not stay either, because in their eyes, you are not a mother. You are not even a person. You are something closer to a tool, a body measured for output, a life recorded in numbers. This is not just your story. This is part of a system that existed and was accepted for generations. The year is 1842. The place is Virginia, and what surrounds you is not chaos. It is structure. It is organized. It is profitable. Across the United States, a decision had been made decades earlier. In 1808, the importation of enslaved people was officially banned. On the surface, it looked like progress. Politicians celebrated it. Some called it a moral step forward. But behind closed doors, a different reality began, because demand did not disappear. It grew. The cotton industry exploded across the South. Fields stretched for miles with no end in sight, and someone had to work them. But instead of turning away from slavery, the system evolved. If new people could no longer be brought in, they would be forced to be born. Entire regions adapted to this reality. Virginia, Maryland, Kentucky became centers of forced population growth. Human beings were no longer only labor. They became long-term financial assets, a form of wealth that could grow and be passed down and be sold again. In financial records of the time, enslaved people were listed like property. Children were not seen as children. They were listed as increase, a word that sounds harmless but meant profit, growth, return on investment. Even birth itself was absorbed into an economic system. Plantation owners tracked everything: age, strength, health, ability to work, ability to bear children. Every detail became part of a calculation. Nothing was personal. Everything was economic. And families suffered most under this system because families were not protected. They were actively broken. Children were separated from parents without warning, no preparation, no explanation. A mother could return from work in the fields and find her child gone. No one would tell her where. No one was required to, because under the law of that time, it was allowed. And that created something devastating, a constant psychological weight, a fear that lived inside every moment, that anything you love could disappear without warning. Some women were forced into patterns designed entirely to sustain the system, not as families, but as production cycles. Life itself became something measured in output. But behind all of this, there were human consequences no ledger could fully capture. Fear, grief, and silence that lasted generations. But people resisted in ways that are often forgotten. Some ran away despite the risks. Some protected their children at all costs. Some quietly resisted in small acts that were never recorded. Resistance existed, even in a system designed to crush it. But punishment was always waiting. Control was maintained through fear, through violence, through separation, through exhaustion. Not just physical exhaustion, but emotional collapse, the breaking of connection between people, because when people are isolated, they are easier to control. And yet, despite everything, life continued. Children were born into the system, grew up inside it, learned its rules before they understood the world. And still, many carried hope, even when hope made no logical sense. Years passed, and eventually the system ended on paper. The Civil War brought emancipation, the law changed, slavery was abolished. But what ended in law did not end in memory, because millions of people had already lived through it, and millions of families had already been broken. Freedom arrived, but not reunion, not justice, not restoration. Most families never found each other again. After emancipation, something heartbreaking happened across the South. Advertisements began appearing in newspapers, not for business, but for people. Mothers searching for children, children searching for mothers, names written again and again, hoping someone somewhere would recognize them. Most of these messages were never answered because records were incomplete, names had changed, people had been moved, time had erased too much. A mother might search for decades, carrying only a memory of a face, a voice, a last moment before separation. Some traveled across states, some never stopped searching until their final breath. And over time, the scale of what had happened became more clear. By 1860, nearly 4 million people lived in slavery in the United States. Only a fraction had been brought directly from Africa. The majority had been born into the system itself, born into a world that decided their fate before they could understand language, a world where their future was already assigned. And that's the part of history that is often hardest to confront. Not only the forced labor, not only the punishment, but the generational impact, the separation of families on a scale so large that its echoes are still felt today. Because when families are broken repeatedly, over and over across generations, the damage does not disappear when the system ends. It continues in memory, in identity, in absence. Even after freedom, many people spent years trying to rebuild what had been destroyed, trying to find children they lost decades earlier, trying to reconnect with names they could barely remember, trying to fill a silence that had lasted too long. But most searches ended in nothing, not because love disappeared, but because the system had erased too much. And what remains today is not just historical record, it is human absence. It is the echo of millions of lives that passed through a system designed to treat them as numbers rather than people. This story is not just what happened in the past. It is about how systems can shape generations, how laws can normalize suffering, and how silence can outlive the system that created it. Because history is not only what is written, it is also what is missing. The voices that were never recorded, the names that were never preserved, the families that were never reunited. And when we look back now, we are not just studying history, we are acknowledging humanity. The humanity that existed even in places where it was denied. If this story stays with you, it is because it is not just a story, it is memory. And memory is what prevents repetition, because the most important question is not what happened, it is how easily it was allowed to happen, and whether we remember it or forget it again.